guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This is the first book in what will potentially be a series. I don't know how many books they're set to publish in this. It was published as a standalone originally, and now it's going to be expanded. But this is taking place in a urban fantasy version of Chicago, in which Polish and Eastern European, but mostly Polish, folklore is real, and those creatures are all existing in Chicago, and our main character is seeking down one of the legendary ones. So our main character of Demetria, I think is how you pronounce it. I looked up a ton of pronunciations. It's Polish. I think it's the Polish version of Dmitri. He is part of some kind of magical organization that is not clear in the beginning, but for some reason he is hunting down the legendary Baba Yaga for unknown reasons. It's like unclear what exactly his intentions are with Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga being the legendary witch in the woods. And to do this, he must team up with some other creatures. I mean, they're humanoid, but these creatures that also eat fear. One of them eats fear and one of them eats anger, and they are a part of his little quest to find Baba Yaga. This is a short novella, so it's a short book. But I ended up loving this in a way that wasn't really expected, although I do really like Eastern European folklore mythology, and this has all of the major players for that. So first off, I'm going to talk about the world building. This is taking place in Chicago. I live in Chicago, so it has some boosts for that, just because there's some areas that it mentioned that I know about. So it has some like major sort of landmark areas for, if you're familiar with Chicago. If you're not, then you probably wouldn't know some of these places. But it just has some places of the city that have more mystical things happening, right? And mystical explanations for why they are the way that they are, which was cool. But that's cool for any fantasy setting, not just Chicago. And with the world building being all Eastern European, Polish folklore and things. So you have Baba Yaga, you have Leshis, you have Zamoras, which are like fear-eating creatures. All of that. All that's really cool. All that kind of folklore is really cool. And seeing in an urban fantasy setting was very fun. Next, we'll talk about our characters. Our main character of Demetra, I really enjoyed him. From the get-go, you kind of have this setup in the very first part of it that he has to do like a little mini quest right in the very beginning, and you kind of understand that he is complicated and interesting in a lot of different ways. So he's really lovely. He ends up, again, meeting some of these other characters who are part of his quest, and they form quick friendships, and that's the only complaint that I have about this book, is because it's so short. One, it could have been longer and I would have been very happy. But also, because it is so short, there are parts about like how these characters trust each other or are friends or whatever that like this is happening in 2 days. There's no reason that they should be as bonded as they are in parts of it. And that part kind of like fails to suspend disbelief for me. But otherwise, I quite enjoyed their dynamics, and again, looking forward to more of this series with these characters as it goes on, because then some of those connections will make more sense if they spent more time together. Lastly, we talk about the plot. Just a short little novella, and like I said, it's kind of like a quest thing. They're trying to find Baba Yaga. I loved it. I loved all of the different little like mini things they have to do in the interim. I have already talked about with multiple people when they eventually do find Baba Yaga, her house. Genius for a fantasy setting. I'm not going to spoil it for you. For urban fantasy setting, it's genius. It's so good. So yeah, the plot and everything, great. You have that like sort of fairy tale-esque, you have to do a bunch of things, and you have to do this thing to do the next thing, and like all the different steps and stuff. All that was great. So I loved this. It is very easy to read in one sitting. It's like 100-something pages. It's fantastic. I gave this, I think, 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only thing holding it back from a 5 was that whole thing with the characters not necessarily being like it making sense that they were as close as they were for such a short book. But otherwise, this is going to be probably one of my favorites of the year, and I highly recommend it if you like Eastern European folklore mythology. Comment below, let me know what you thought of When Among Crows. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.